Hello, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar. We're going to cover SDS2 Load Planning, and I'm Nate Block. I'm the technical advisor for steel here at SDS2. And quick little background on me. Used to be with a local fabricator here as a project manager, did a little detailing work. I programmed some CNC machining, as well as I delivered steel to job sites. So I do have some firsthand knowledge on material handling, and I'm super excited to be joined by two experts in the industry today. Brian Boggs with Cobuilt. He is the production manager there. Super smart guy. He has extensive experience with heavy lift and transport crane and rigging, special interest in fabrication, self-titled Fab Nerd. So super excited to have him with us. And then as well as James Schwartz. He's with SDS2, software advocate and developer. 20 years at SDS2, product owner of SDS2 Load Planning, so couldn't have a better expert on hand with us today, as well as a lot of expertise in detailing, as well as research and development, customer assistance, and obviously product development. So what I'm going to cover in today's webinar, for those that don't already know what SDS2 Load Planning is, and then we're going to dive into details as far as what customers are using SDS2 Load Planning, how they're using it, really cool tips and tricks there. And then also Brian is going to step in and he's going to give us some thoughts as to why it's important to maximize loads and how that leads to success. So to get things started, let me bring in James. Go ahead and turn on your mic and say hi.
Come on, you can do it. There we go. Gotta love it. Let's begin. I want to start off with Fortisea is going to get a name change. It's still the same awesome product. It's just going to be called SDS2 Load Planning, and that's going to happen in the new year. Some of the people already have it. We'll see it in December. I want to talk a little bit about the why we got into doing this. A number of years ago, I was talking to a client on the phone, and he was looking out his window and he was just kind of umming and ahhing because of how much loading and offloading, and watching guys stand around trying to figure out how to put his windows right out on the yard, watching guys trying to put steel onto the trailer. You know, he's like, man, I wish we had a better plan for this. So, you know, that kind of started the ball rolling, and I started to ask a couple of people. I was at a SEA convention for rectors, and I was sitting at the bar with some guys from United Rental, great group, and I just kind of mentioned the idea, and they're like, oh, that would just be so awesome. That would help us too for the loads from the erector's perspective. And, you know, as I kept on doing more and more research into this product, it just became obvious that this was really something that was needed. I mean, when I look at shops, they are just so amazingly refined down to everything until you get to the loading. You know, you got your CNC machinery, you've got, you know, all of your MRP products, the heartbeat behind your operation with the procurement and everything else. And then, you know, you get to paint if you have a paint and whatever, you're out into the yard and there you go. You got your steel, and it's some guy who is basically some incredible magician putting this steel onto the truck. And, you know, I think we needed a product to help these people out. And that's what we've done here with the SDS2 Load Planning. We've given them this visual that's kind of missing from those load lists. And, you know, the nice thing that I have to mention about this Fortisea product is, even though it's here at, SDS2 Load Planning product, even though it's here, come on, it's been 2 years of saying Fortisea. Even though it's, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, you know, even though it's done by the folks at Design Data, which has just a huge history of putting out some awesome software, it works off of an IFC2X3 file, meaning that I can bring in Tekla models, I can bring in SDS2 models, I can go ahead and I can bring in CADWorks models, and these models come in really, really well. And so, you know, if you're a fabricator that works with these different types of detailing software, you're not stuck. Now, the nice thing is it's 2X3 IFC, so any other products, I mean, we're starting off with steel, but you know what? You've got concrete, you've got all these other joist manufacturers, got one interest in this too as well. These people are looking at this saying, hey, if I can get this IFC model, I can bring it out, I can load it onto my trailer. We take our weights from the IFC file, which is awesome. So we're taking your weights. So I don't care if it's made out of balsa wood or if it's made out of granite, right? You with me?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Now, one of the things that we've added in, which is really going to help a lot of people out, is that is the ability to create in our model these user attributes, these properties. So let's say, for example, a detailer set up a bunch of erection sequences. Well, we all know how fluid things can get in this industry. And now you can actually go in there and you can open up this model in SDS2 Load Planning, and you can create your own work sets. You can create your own sequences, and you can add that. And what's really awesome about it is this information actually gets exported out in the IFC file as well when you do the connected model. I'll talk about that a little bit further down the road. So this helps erectors too. And, I can't wait to get to that point. I'll just stop it right there. We're going to hear
awesome stuff.
yeah, and we're going to hear some really interesting thing from Brian. I mean, there's people that are really excited about this product, and they're using this product. And I'm going to not steal any of his thunder there or any of Lorenzo's from AmFab. There's a little bit in here too. But, this is the whole thing about this product is having a plan, cutting down on the handling. This is really important in a shop. Every time you touch steel, there's a risk. And, some of the places I've seen them, because you got to clear the floor so that you can work, right? So they're pulling steel out into the yard, using your, whatever you're using. You're using your bridge crane or you're loading onto trailers to pull it out to offload, to load them back onto trailers. A whole lot of movement that's going on here. And any fabricator knows that handling, well, that's a cost to it. Not only could be a cost of life, but it's just a cost of moving stuff around. And remember, we're not picking up toothpicks here, right? We're moving 10,000 or higher pieces of steel. So this is pretty heavy duty, and the thing is that by using Fortesy, we create what's called a load map. And so we have an option for 2D and an option for 3D that can run on a tablet too. But let's talk about the 2D because that's where people are at right now. We create a load map showing layer by layer exactly where the steel needs to be placed on this. And what it does is it stimulates communication. So for example, in one case, one of the guys was just totally pumped because, the guys in the shop looked at his load map, came back, said, hey, if we do this, we can go ahead and get more steel on this, or we can reduce, the loads, or we could center this gravity better on this trailer because this product has a center of gravity. So you can visually see in real time whether you're hitting another piece of steel that's down 4 dunnage layers, or you can go in there and as you move the steel around, you can see the center of gravity of that entire load move to that geometric center of the trailer. It's a heck of a lot better, right, Nate, than looking at the tires and going, hey, that one looks flatter than this one. This is this is the whole thing. Now, again, don't get me wrong. We are building a tool, a 3D tool to help the loader. And think about it, drivers. How many times does a driver come and it's like, oh, no, I'm not pulling that. You need to fix that up. We're talking 4 hours of time maybe just to go ahead and offload and reload that trailer. Now we send this load map out. He can look at it before he even comes there and can tell you when you're actually, as soon as possible, you can go ahead and get this information fed back to you if you have to go ahead and reload it. They can also use this for the logistics as well. So, I mean, we're talking about drivers benefiting from it, communication in the shop. We're also talking about galvanizers. You send this off and they got a little load map showing what this is, or better yet, the 3D image of that model. And they can go ahead and put this back together again. Or the erector, he knows what's coming because we got tools in here that can help you to find a loadable piece of steel, let's say, in this case, that's what we call loadables. They're pieces of steel or whatever it is.
Yep.
We got a broad name because it could be, like I said, it could be bamboo or roof trusses, right? Wooden trusses, glue lamps, whatever you want. So anyways, my point being is that you can go ahead and use this fine tool to show you exactly what trailer it's on and what layer it's on. I know everybody takes pictures of their trailers, from all the angles, and they say, look, here's a picture of the steel that's on the trailer, but can you really see what's on the interior part of it? No. You got your bill of lading. Does that tell you exactly where the, what layer that's on? It just, you got to go through and find the trailer. Here you type in B121 and bang, it shows you exactly where it is. So we're building this because there is a problem we're solving here. We're not just building software to build software. It's a nice little untouched niche where I think there's going to be huge benefits to the users.
Exactly. So, I mean, just to let me jump in here, the best example I can come up with is, I remember the old days for me anyway, was using MapQuest. So we would all, plan our destinations. We pull up MapQuest, put in our destination A to B, and then it just give us a list, a turn-by-turn list of just, hey, turn at this exit, look for this exit. And I remember, I wasn't sure exactly where I was at, and I was wanting that map. So nowadays, we're really spoiled. We have this nice big navigation screen, and we can see exactly where we're at in relation to the road. And I kind of relate SDS2 load planning to that same scenario where you can actually see things in 3D. You can plan that map for your trailer. There's no more guessing. There's no more checking the list, so to speak, to know if you made, something's got on the trailer or not. So this is an excellent way to just see and communicate all the information. And again, there's no more guessing. And that's kind of the whole idea with this, the problem that it solves. So that kind of leads me to the next slide. So let's just talk about some examples of how load planning is reducing material handling and why that's necessary. And you kind of already touched on this. The industry has really taken every step to improve anywhere we can. And what I mean by that is we have 3D models. We can import and export different, contractors on a project, whether it be piping or steel or mechanical, it doesn't matter. We now can detail drawings at the click of a button. And now we have CNC for all our machines in the shop. So we've taken all these steps to improve, and yet there's still this gap when it comes to material handling and loading trailers. And that's really the gap that we're hoping that SDS2 load planning is going to fill. Am I right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is definitely going to fill it. It just makes me think of one guy who was so excited. They haul from South Dakota out to California, got a lot of jobs out there. And so what happens is that they have to have their loads really balanced. California can be a little particular, any state can be, but some states are a little more particular than others. And they had to have these loads balanced and forget about being over too. So, having Fortescue, he was so excited. He brought the trailer to the scale, and it was only 80 pounds difference between the front and the back of the trailer, which brings up the point of you're up north and it's winter and you've got to go ahead and make that load up forward. You can visually see that is forwardly loading, or if you're loading your steel on top of the axles, or if you want the load centered, you have that quick visual feedback. That's what you need. And you're not working off a load list that some guy went through and took a bunch of weights based off the sequence and then found out the lengths and said, okay, here's what's going to fit, because we can send this information back to your Tekla EPM or to your Strumis. And with those two products, you can go ahead and say, hey, you said this was on load number 1, but it turns out this is going to take 3 trailers because of the geometric shape. So this allows, and again, I'm not going to steal anything from Brian, but he's going to talk about some of these things, how people are using this product even beyond what I've even had it designed for. So it's really important. And I've seen a lot of really impressive fabricators with loading. They use skids, they have everything. And I'm just going to bring up one particular client who we called them up and they're like, well, we got a really good program on how we're loading trailers. And they did. They had a program they wrote for it, but it was all really, again, kind of 2D, working off their length of the list of their material that they would pump in and their the weights. And he's like, we're not interested. But basically what happened, about 3 weeks later, we get a phone call like, hey, you know what? He goes, can we take a look at that product again? We just got this job with a lot of regular shape stuff, and it'd be really kind of nice to see if you guys can satisfy what we're looking for. So, if this might not be interest now, I'm sure it will be, because this is a gap. This is a real thing that's there. It's not just software for software's sake. So if you can say that.
Exactly. No, and on top of that, it also provides that safety factor. The common sense says the less times I'm handling a member, it reduces, the amount of chance for a rollover, a chain to slip. A guy on the trailer gets his leg pinched. So I remember when I loaded trailers, it wasn't the most glamorous thing in the world, and you had to kind of be on your toes at times when you're trying to make material fit and kind of fall and roll it into place. So having a map eliminate that guessing. Again, it's just another way that you can be safer, but also reduce the amount of times you have to handle that certain steel beam or column or whatever it may be. Amfab Steel, one of the awesome customers that we have that are using this. Like you mentioned, just seeing our customers really light up and find different ways to use it. They've already kind of programmed it into their piece marking system. So they already have a destination planned for that member before it even gets cut. They already know what load it's going to go on. So this actually allows them to maximize the efficiency in which steel is processed through their shop. So, for example, like larger columns and beams, they know that that's going to take longer. So they prioritize the machinery, knowing what members are going through at what time through what bay, because they already have a destination for those members. And you're not having to swap out bits or punches or whatever it may be to accommodate different sizes or things like that, because they already have that mapped out for them. And it's all fast tracked. They already know exactly when it comes out of processing, it's going to a trailer, and then it's going to that staging area. So another example, they stage every single load on large sawhorses, and then they have these big massive forklifts that they can just pick up the entire load and just set it down right on the trailer. So it's just another way that they're eliminating more material handling. Another thing, they're reducing the amount of juggling from the shop to the staging area. I remember when I was in fabrication, the guy would finish a column or a beam, then he'd just kind of put it in a pile of his done pile. And then when it came time for that load to go out, he'd have to maybe dig it out of the pile and then put it on a different truck and then transfer it to the other side of the shop. So they've eliminated all of that by just fast tracking through the shop and already having a trailer designated for those members. So again, the tiny little details really are making a difference and kind of separating themselves from the competition that I think anybody can benefit from. Another example that I know Brian, I got this one from Brian, colored ribbons on the layers. So they sort and stage their steel as it comes out of production and paint by colored ribbons, knowing that, hey, let's put a red ribbon on this one for layer 1. So all of layer 1 is red ribbons, layer 2 is blue, layer 3 is green, for example. That's another way to do it. So just so many ways that these guys are really taking control of this product and just learning the best way to set themselves up for success. And
right. Yeah,
it's so cool. I mean, you could probably speak more on just seeing how our customers light up when they see what's happening.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, it's being used worldwide. From Australia to Philippines to United States. I mean, we're moving, and people are very interested in it. So, one of the things that you bring up is there's always been this dream to basically fabricate based off the load, and especially when sometimes I did projects in cities that you basically had to build off the truck. So you really needed to know what was on that load and how it was going to be erected. And Fortisea, with this 3D modeling and this capability that we have, allows you to fulfill that dream. And one of the core things in the design I started early off is that we all know stuff changes. So we worked on a very good revision control in this product so we could satisfy that dream of basically fabricating off the load, because stuff gets on hold, things get revised. Well, what's going to happen is when you update that model, we're going to tell you which members have changed, which ones have been removed that are loaded onto the trailers, where they're loaded onto the trailers. We get this report of what's being pulled off. I mean, I love audit trails, and I just working as a detailer years ago, believe me, it was revisions, and I know it hasn't gotten any better since then. So even with all the wonderful BIM out there. So yeah, these are just some of the things that we see that are benefiting clients. One of them was the fact that the loader could take a vacation. Mentoring is really important. It's something that we've kind of not done a very good job of in a lot of this industry. I remember working with erectors and trying to get them to mentor down to the young geek guy who knew how to run the computer, but they had all the experience. So I said, with your experience and their ability to run the computers, you team them up. Now you've got somebody else, so you can actually take a day off, right? So these are some of the things. Now you probably won't get a day off because they'll just give you more work, but let's pretend they would. So, but this is what we're looking at right here. It is disruptive. A lot of people kind of look at it, and I don't blame you, going, oh, this is different. Do I really need this? I mean, you got to spend time loading the trailer in Fortisea, yeah, but I can cut down a lot of the other time that's there. I can cut down, from 4 hours to load a trailer, cut that down to 2 hours. When you have a load map, an hour to load it, or less than an hour, half an hour to load it in Fortisea, and then, another well, how long it takes to load it. You don't have to spend all that time. I know it takes, most people will get what, 1, 2 trailers out.
Mhm.
So now if you can get more trailers out, I've had one guy saying that was just awesome. He was so excited. It's like, I filled all these trailers up in 4 hours. This was great, you know? So he's
Exactly.
pumped. So that's what really gets me excited, if you haven't noticed about it, is that this is a solution to a problem most people didn't know they had. And it's
And
also, and like you said too, this is a good point. I have some people, I had one guy says, I don't want you to sell this or tell anybody else about this. This is giving me a competitive edge against those
yep.
people that I'm working with. And I've had that more than once, people telling me that. It's like, well, you know, I gotta eat too, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and you touched on a good point too. It's not just about the fabricator, but it's also who you work with. Erectors are going to love this tool, and as my success story says, AmFab, they do a great job with this product. And they had, in one particular situation, they had a job site that was on a busy Vegas roadway, so they literally had to erect right off the trailers. There was no laydown yard. So that sequence of how it came off the trailer was extremely important, and being able to share that information and communicate that information was a huge priority for them. And then also, they happen to be super busy at one point in time with this whole COVID thing going on. I don't know if you guys have heard about it. Not the greatest subject, but
Never heard it.
but
Never heard
that,
of it.
and then a lot of their deadlines pushed. So all of a sudden it kind of started back up, and then all of a sudden they were slammed. And so this product really came in handy when they were extremely busy, because they were fortunate to sub out a lot of work to 5 different fabricators, and they were able to plan every single load from 5 different shops to one job site. And this particular job site had 2 separate cranes and laydown yards. So again, it was just a huge, valuable tool to communicate the information, not just for the fabricator, but also their partners, which would be the erectors in the field. So that's just another good example. It kind of leads into my next subject. So let's focus on how people receive the material. It's not just the fabricator, like I said, but how can we help with that in the field? So there's so many different things that erectors kind of face that maybe fabricators don't even know about, or to be honest, they may not even care. I mean, I'll be honest, when I was a driver, I was guilty of just kind of wanting to get it off my truck, didn't really care. Just let me, this is my job. You guys do your job, that kind of mindset, which obviously not a great mindset for success, I would say now. But the, people don't factor in, like, is there a laydown yard? Maybe there isn't. Maybe the equipment is limited. So another good example that AmFab was doing was that they know exactly what their erectors prefer, even when it comes down to equipment. So as I mentioned earlier, they have one big heavy forklift, so they know they can lift an entire load for a trailer in one pick, but they separate that load in by dunnage layers, actually. So they use a larger piece of dunnage to separate the separate picks within that trailer. So their erector knows that when they receive a trailer, that they're going to have 2 separate picks, because the fabricator already knows that they have a forklift on site that can handle half the load. So it's just 1, 2 picks, and that's how they expect every load to come. And what they're doing with that is really setting up their partners for success. I mean, there's just that communication, that trust, and it just makes that whole unloading process so much safer and ultimately quicker, because everybody knows that we care a lot about deadlines. And also, it provides, an export to your shipping company. And maybe you could speak on like the different exports that we offer and how that might be valuable to, like, a truck driver.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, there's one which is a load map, which gives you a layer by layer with a piece mark showing you exactly how the piece is going to be laid. You also get an isometric, so you can see the view, flat and up. We also show on this output of this load map, you get the center of gravity, which is very important too. It shows you where this is centered. So that gives you that data. The other thing that we have is the like I said earlier, the Tekla EPM and StruMIS and CMK Load Planner, which is awesome. That's another tool out there that we export to, which allows you to bring the information back into your Tekla model if you're using that. The other thing that we put out, which I really like, is the isometric actually, sorry, let me rephrase that. It's an IFC 2x3 file of the actual individual trailer or bundles, and or bundles, and you can go ahead and get these, and you can actually look at them on a tablet, or you can look at them on a laptop, and you can go in and use any of the available tools out there. And there's a lot of them. You know, you got BIM Plus, Trimble Connect, you got all these tools that allow me to go in there, and I could basically dismantle layer by layer this entire trailer in 3D, rotate around and take a look at it. Eventually, this is the thing, is I'd like to see, as people get more tablets in the shop, that they can ditch that load map, and they can actually go ahead and look right at that tablet. You know, if you're using a product that allows you to put it up and post it to the web, you can have the erector look at it, you can have the driver look at it, you know, instant time. You know, this is where we're heading towards with the technology that's available. But again, we do have the load map. Like I mentioned earlier about updating the Tech Lead PM and StruMIS. Then we also send out, this is kind of later that we've done in later releases, where you can send out the entire connected model, which means that in an IFC2X3, if I'm an erector, I can open up the model and I can actually see that, hey, this load has members located here, 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 and here. So you can go by loads and see exactly in their erected position where these members are going to be. You can also, with that, all the attributes come across, so all of those properties come across. So if you created like work sets, you'll be able to go ahead and look at that. And I'm very excited about some of the things that we have coming down the line too as well, you know, especially combining members, because a lot of times you build things separate, throw it on a floor, assemble it, and place it on the trailer. We're working on that. Well, actually, I'm just seeing some of that happening just right now. We're working on that currently. So, I mean, we've got, the sky's the limit. There's a lot of things that we have planned. I just finished doing our 5-year plan, and this is going to be something else. This really is something else, but it's going to be even more so. And, you know, one of the things I like to mention is that right now in the early stages, especially when you become, and if you, this is up to you, but when you purchase the product, I'm looking for stakeholders, which means you've got a strong input into influencing how this product is going to, what direction it's going to go. You know, so this is really important. I know that when I started on SDS2, back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, there weren't a lot of users on that. And, you know, we had this, I don't even want to think about how it was back then, but, you know, the point was it's come such a long way. But we used to be beta testers, so we could really have a strong influence on how things would work. And, you know, being detailers, we can make it work like a detailer wants it to work. So these are just some of the things that in this case would be a loader, and how a loader, or how an erector. And I did talk to one of my erector friends who's been in the industry for years, and, you know, we were talking about hooking when you're throwing something, when you're taking something off the trailer, and how dangerous it is. And I was telling him some of the things we're doing in 4C. In fact, I'm going to be doing a presentation for him later next week. But, you know, the whole point is that he's getting excited about it, which is great, being an erector. So exactly. Yeah, I got everybody in mind from the paint down, or should I say up, if you want to look at it that way.
No, and you make a lot of great points there as I try to make a cap here on this transition. But like you mentioned, it's just, this is an awesome tool to communicate, just really to set each other up for success, everyone involved on a project that's going to be handling the material. It's those who really pay attention to the details that separate themselves, you know, like, are you standing beams up on your trailer so that you can just get them in one quick lasso with the crane, like these guys do? Are they factoring in, like, whether or not they can read labels and piece marks off the trailer so they're not flipping stuff, or, you know, brushing things off in the dirt? Like, these are just tiny little details that guys are doing with this product to ensure that, you know, again, they're setting themselves up for success. And it's an exciting product, and we're excited to see where it goes. Our customers are excited, and so now I'm going to make this transition. I want to thank you, James, again for being part of the presentation, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and expertise.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So now for this portion of the presentation, I'd like to bring in my next presenter. I'd like to introduce Brian Boggs with CoBuilt. Brian, go ahead and turn on your camera. Go ahead and say hi.
Hey, Nate, how's it going?
Good, I'm doing great. So for this portion, let's really dive into maximizing your shipping. And when I last spoke with you, you had a lot of really good quotes that I took away. So I'm going to use those again. And to kick things off, you said that we can make better decisions because we have better information. And that being said, you kind of dove into some projects that had like 50 to 60 truckloads, they're traveling long distances. And so you had to be really efficient with the placement of material on those trucks in order to give the customer better opportunity for communication. Can you kind of explain a little bit on that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So in our business, we do work, as it says on your screen and stuff, with a fair amount of some of the big companies in terms of Amazon, UPS, DHL, things like that. And their sites are all over the place. And so us being located in Memphis, we very, very often may have truckloads that go quite a bit and quite a big distance. So missing a beam or things like that, you can't always just throw it on the next truckload. So what we do, what Fortisee in particular gives us the option to do is be able to give give truckloads in the order that the customer would like to receive. Sometimes that's just fill the truckload to 40,000 pounds and we don't care what's on it. Sometimes they may in fact, due to site conditions, say we only want these certain members on a truckload, and even though that's 26,000 pounds, it makes better sense for us on site because our laydown area is limited. So it gives us the ability to be either really precise in what they want or kind of more of a shotgun effect. Just kind of giving us the flexibility gives them what they need.
Definitely. And I know you mentioned before, kind of to play along that, is you give priority as well. Like I mentioned some things, just you have the ability to prioritize certain items on a load, guaranteeing that it's not just on the load list, but you know for a fact it's going to be on that trailer, and you can kind of organize things in that nature, right?
Yeah, and in fact, we don't have it as implemented yet as I would completely like, and we may, we're constantly trying to improve. So there is no kind of perfect, it's done, don't mess with it anymore. It's always being tweaked, but it does give us the actual ability to create a pool method using some lean terminology from where those loads actually get put through fabrication first. So because we know they want to be shipped first, they get prioritized to go through fabrication with our automated beam line, to go through our welding, go through a paint. So they actually show up at the trailer first instead of, as we've done in the past, I'm sure other fabricators too, you just make everything and then it's up to the shipping agency or shipping guys to go play Easter egg hunt and trying to find those particular beams. We're trying to flip the process around, and Fortisee lets us do that because we now know exactly what stuff goes on the truck, or how it's come from the actual model, all that good stuff.
Yep, awesome. Yep, exactly. So along with that, my next point, it provides a secondary check on your shipping.
Yeah.
You guys had a little bit of a boo-boo there where there was a revision and it showed up in Fortisee or SDS2 Load Planning. It was a red flag immediately for you guys. Now, I don't remember what is your MRP system you guys operate? What was the issue?
Yes. Yeah, so we use we use Tekla EPM, and so what happened? We made a mistake, and I know no one else ever does that. We were the first people in the fabrication industry to do that, to not catch a revision, but a revision came through, and it got lost in our emails, and so because it came right on the heels of another revision, so the naming looked a lot the same, but anyway, what happened is when it came time to load things out, because we pull the model straight from the Tekla structures, is what we use. It's not the same as Tekla structures puts out the model, and then that model goes into EPM. Well, that model just coming straight over into Fortisee created a feedback loop for us, so to speak, that allowed us to, when we were loading the truck out, and the day before we were loading the truck out, we were checking to make sure we had all the parts. There were parts on the Fortisee loadout list that didn't exist kind of in reality where we were standing. So that caused a search for us to go through. We couldn't find it in EPM, so now we're starting to go, well, how does this stuff exist in Fortisee and not exist in EPM? What's going on? We went all the way back to the Tekla structures model and found them in there. So then it was like, oh wait, that was that one revision. So we caught it, and it was, as your notes say, it was painful to catch, but we caught it in enough time that it really didn't impact the site. I think they had a 1 or 2 day delay, which is definitely a lot, but that site is in Canada. And so we're in Memphis, and that's at least a 2 to 4 day haul. So we were able to pivot, input the change and everything. And it allowed us to, like I said, catch the mistake, which allowed us to get it back in where, sadly, had we not been using Fortisea, we would have not found out until they went to go put beams up, and then they didn't exist. And so then now everyone's scrambling, looking around, and of course now you've got all the field labor and all that stuff, and it can get bad quick. So it was a wonderful check for us in that sense.
And then that worst case scenario, it reflects on your customer, and then obviously not a good look for you. So excellent example there. And then on top of that, it also shows the versatility, the fact that, you guys are a Tekla user, Tekla EPM. So the versatility there with software working back and forth is also pretty awesome example. So jump into technology adoption. I kind of asked about whether or not this has helped, as far as every shop has a guy that loads a trailer. Usually that's probably might be one of his roles or only role. And he's probably better at it than most of the people in the shop. And they probably, if they're gone, I know this happened when I was in the shop. For example, we had a plasma table, and the guy who programmed the plasma table would be gone, and it was a huge drag in our productivity. And so it was kind of a scramble, like, oh shoot, how did so-and-so do this on this particular item? And so the same thing can happen with loading trucks. I've seen it in our shop as well, where the guy who usually does it, you got, the next guy up, and next thing you know, trailers are kind of going out that aren't, they might not be load. It took all day to get it going. So there's definitely a lag in that. So I want to speak on how the adopting this technology and being able to transfer that experience has been easier with the SDS2 Load Planner or Fortisea.
Yeah. I think it's really in any company, any business. It doesn't matter if it's steel fab or whatever. Kind of the whole idea of tribal knowledge, or there's the one person or woman that knows exactly what's supposed to go, and then that person, they're a human, so they take vacation or they're sick, and now the whole system comes to a crumbling stop or a halt because that one person that knows the things is not there. And so that's one of the things that's helped using Fortisea is we've been able to start to kind of not flatten, but divest, I would say, that information from that one guy. And then for our world, his name is Jay, and Jay is a shipping guru. He basically does Tetris in his head, and he gets everything loaded out really well. And he actually really likes Fortisea and using it in such a way that it helps make his job easier, because he's a teacher at heart, and he is part of the reason why he's been at CoBuilt for close to 20 years. He's just a stellar guy, and so he wants to see others succeed and be able to do more. And so it gives him a really cool opportunity to train and mentor others on how to use it. So he uses it some. He's not the person that uses it the most. We have someone else that actually runs the software more often than Jay does. But what we set up is basically a review check. So just as, I'm an engineer, as we do calc reviews and model reviews, Jay does a Fortisea loadout review. We actually have a load going out tomorrow that Jay today is looking at the loadout map, again, to help us try and find information faster, or find out potential issues faster and solve them before they actually become issues. And so Jay reviewing it helps this guy who doesn't have as much experience of loading out trucks. He's now getting more up to speed. He's understanding how trucks need to be loaded. And so when Jay goes out, this guy could, or Jay's out for a day or whatever, this guy could do this. And then we're also looking at how can we cross-train other people to use it to help just streamline that, because it's just that important to us to get it right. And we need to have multiple people that can do it. Now, there's no way one of our guys is going to be able to, in 2 months or 6 months, take all the experience that Jay has in 20 years of doing it. But the goal is not to step him up that much. The goal is to get there to be a good level where we can have a nice utilization across different people for that software.
Yeah, and not only that, but I feel like there's kind of a little bit of a divide between like with fabrication shops, whether, oh, the guys in the shop, they get all the fancy tools and technology, where this is something that can really be hands-on for, the guy who's loading the truck, and say, hey, give me that map. Let me see how to load this trailer, and really embrace it, knowing that this is making their job, easier, and they're being better at it. It's not replacing them. It just allows them to be so much more efficient at this part of the job.
Yeah, that's a great point. One of the big things that we push at CoBuild, it comes from our leader all the way through, is just ownership at every level. Ownership from the executive team down, all the way down to the guys that are loading trucks. And the load out of trucks is in some ways just as critical, if not more critical, than the welders putting on the welds. And that may seem really weird, but for our customers, how the product shows up is a really, really important deal. So if you're just kind of throwing stuff on the truck just to make a weight, you're probably not going to be as careful. So what we found is that as the guys are going through, now that they have a loadout map, they know where stuff is going, they're also really buying into it and taking ownership of, like, hey, I'm not just loading the truck out. I'm loading these 287 pieces in this one at these locations on these layers, and that helps me ensure that CoBuild gets the load there not only on time, but it has it looking as it needs to look, and with no missing parts. And so they take ownership of it at that level, which is what we have to have throughout the whole organization.
So that's actually an excellent transition into my next slide. So why should you care? How are you separating yourself from the rest of the pack? Kind of like what you were just talking about there with CoBuild. As you mentioned before, you guys do a lot of work with Amazon, UPS, DHL, and these guys, probably small little startup companies, right? Everybody's
yeah.
So they demand perfection, right? And allows you to have that attention to detail. And I think that really speaks volumes to our target audience. It's not just about saving trailer loads. It's about caring about your work. For example, your quote, they're not erectors, they're not welders, they're not iron workers, but they're guys with socket sets. And I don't mean that as a knock, but that just speaks to the range of customers you guys work with. And maybe you could say more on that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not perfect. We make mistakes all the time. The phrase that we use a lot is, it's not about making mistakes. If we're going to make mistakes, let's make new ones. We don't want to make the same ones over and over. And so we're really taking that to heart on a quality standpoint. We've had issues in the past, and we're working on getting better at that. And we are getting better, and our customers are noticing that. And because our background is in the commercial steel business, a lot of these things that show up on a commercial job site, if something's not quite right, it doesn't really matter, because you've kind of got the opposite of that quote right there. You've got guys that are erectors, that are iron workers. It doesn't matter how the steel is going to look, because everything's going to get painted anyway. But now we have a new customer base, and this customer has different expectations and different requirements. And so once we finally really understood kind of the shift, and that these guys are guys with socket sets, they want bolt up, they want it to show up, they want it to look pristine, and they're paying for it. So that's the expectations. That's what we need to deliver. This is giving us one more tool that allows us to be able to do that, be able to provide that level of service that they asked for and they paid for. And it lets us continue to be, as we want to be, their steel fabricator of choice for their steel structures.
And I know, I'm sure your competitors, that they notice, and I'm sure your customers notice your competitors, that you see a piece of steel from two different shops, but the same piece of steel. I guarantee you, one shop, that beam might have a little bit cleaner welds, a little smoother copes. The paint is just a little bit better finish, and this is part of that whole, mindset of being better and take things to the next level. I think you guys are doing an awesome job with doing that. And again, it allows you to have these type of projects with these major companies, and your attention to detail and thinking about how can we support these guys in the field to set them up for success, as you said, and all while trying to stay on a live load schedule, as you mentioned. It's not simply, hey, let's make this perfect, but you got to get it done by this certain amount of time, right?
Yeah, yeah. And what is the phrase, perfect is the enemy of good kind of thing. So one of the things that we take to heart in terms of our continuous improvement journey is that, and it sounds odd, but we don't want to be the best, just because the best implies is really kind of dependent upon who your competition is. Now, granted, in our industry, there's a lot of really good people that do what we do, and they're good competitors, and they push us to be better. But we want to get better all across the board, all the time, getting better. So as we're getting better with delivery times, getting better with our packaging, getting better with our quality, all that good stuff, it does kind of flow into how we want that to be, creating separation for us, so that people see a noticeable difference between co-built steel and someone else's steel. And quite honestly, Fortisee, in some ways, I don't want to do the webinar because I don't want other people to know about Fortisee, because I want to keep it as a little thing that only we know about, because it's so useful for us in that. But also, it's not a proprietary software. So, but it is helpful for us in that sense that it gives us one more thing. It's one more, kind of area of what I would call kind of the wild, the untouched area of a job shop in production is shipping. And it's for so long been kind of just a forgotten, well, hey, everyone thinks the job's done once it shows up for shipping. No, the job's not done. It's still got to get loaded out correctly and efficiently and in the format they want. So it's been a game changer for us.
Yeah, all great things. I can only take that as a compliment for sure. So
absolutely.
Thank you for the kind words. And to really just kind of drive home here as we wrap things up, I kind of make the comparison to like an iPhone. And I say this because a lot of people have iPhones. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And hate them or love them. But I know I've opened a new iPhone before. And the first thing you notice about it is packaging. You open that and every detail's thought out, even the way the plastic wrap comes off the box to the way they coil the wires, your charging cord, just perfectly fit. They pay attention to their product, the details, they care about it. That's the way you feel when you open it. You take pride in that. So I feel like we're talking about the same thing when it comes to shipping. And when you're delivering your product to your customer, it's showing that you do take pride in your work and you do care about them, and you are, they're a priority for you. And I think that's the way, that's what Fortisee does. It allows you to separate yourself and your partners to be more successful in an area that just it's not thought about. There's just, we take these steps throughout every project to make ourselves better and more efficient, and yet this one hasn't been touched yet. And so that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to share, and we hope others can really take advantage of it, just like you guys are. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't say enough good things about it. We even had James come and he did our training on site. We had 5 or 6 people for that, and he was really instrumental in helping us get going on that. But you're right. If we stop caring about the details at the shipping level, then caring about all the details all the way up to that really didn't matter, because it's the last and final. It's the first thing our customer sees. And it's a lot of times it's what they care about the most.
Yeah, awesome stuff. And Brian, I'd just like to thank you once again for being a part of this presentation.
Yeah, no problem.
Everyone's check out Co-Built, check them out. They're they're on top of things. They know what they're talking about. And so I'd just like to transition here. Let's open things up for questions. Before we do that though, just a special thanks again to Brian Boggs and Co-Built, Amfab Steel, as well as James Schwartz for helping out with the presentation. And if you guys have any questions, just hit SDS2.com. You can find all your information there. And let's open it up for questions. Thanks. And actually, before I forget here, I do want to kind of include those of you that are still listening in. Let's do some quick poll questions for you guys. So go ahead and interact there. We'd love to see what you guys think on some of this stuff. And we'll try to share those results once they come available. But let's go ahead and dive into questions here. So first question, can we do pallets? I would say yes, we absolutely can do pallets. We call them bundles, And this allows you to group the smaller loadables into like standard pallet sizes, or if you want to get customized, maybe you guys have some sort of a frame or a box that you guys are have customized for whatever you need to ship that are smaller. We absolutely can do that. Again, we call those bundles, and whether it be base plates or angles, anything of that nature, yeah, we can absolutely do that. And can we get one question, or did we get the poll question up here? There we go. So yeah, feel free to interact with that poll question. Let's go on to the next question. Let's see here. Can you customize trailers? James, if you're still there, you want to answer this one?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Awesome. Yeah, right now we deal with flatbed trailers, and we are currently in the process of bringing in drop deck, so single and double drop deck trailers. That will be coming, hoping before the end of the year, but early in the beginning of next year. So flatbed and then drop deck, which is the most commonly used single and double drop deck and flatbeds.
Okay, awesome. And let's see, another question. Can this work with galvanizers? Yeah, absolutely. We kind of touched on that a little bit in the presentation. You can definitely send the export to the galvanizer that you may be working with. So some of you already asked that too. You want a recap of the export files. Yes, we can export a PDF bill of lading, including a 2D load map and with an isometric view of that trailer. And then that also comes in an Excel format. And then it also integrates with like Tekla EPM and Strumis. We have exports for those directly, as well as any other MRP system that can import a CSV file. And then lastly, the IFC model, which is that 3D capability, whether you want to see that on a tablet in the shop or in the field or on your own personal computer.
Yeah, and if you're using a product, give an example of BIM Plus or Trimble Connect, you can actually post that and host it so that the erector and everybody else can look at it too.
Yeah. And can we share those results on that? Okay, there we go. Wanted to see that. Okay, so there's the results on that one. That's interesting. Let everybody see that for a second. And let's go ahead and let's pull up that next question for everyone. There we go. All right. Let the results come in on that. And then, James, here's another question for you. Can these trailers load just steel only?
No, it can be concrete, it can be steel. Remember, we're working with an IFC 2x3 import file, which means that, as I mentioned, the weights are actually coming from what's in the file. So yes, you can do concrete. If you're working with CADWorks, they do glue-lam and those LVLs, and we can import those too as well. So yeah, you got a 2x3 IFC file, away we go.
Yeah, awesome stuff. So yeah, it's not just steel, but a lot of different structural items, whether, yeah, like you said, as long as it's that IFC file, you should be able to create that load map. And again, that's a big help, especially with like that glue-lam industry, wood members. Those guys are really big into like modularized planning as far as erection sequences and things of that nature. So that's definitely a big plus. And let's go ahead and show the results of that last question here. So there you go, employee safety. That's good to know. That's a plus.
Yeah, makes me feel good for some of my friends anyways.
Awesome. Okay. Well, that actually wraps up all the questions, and we're kind of up against the clock here anyway. So once again, thank you all for attending today's webinar. And if you have any questions, just go to sds2.com. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.